Andrea Johnson's nightmare continues. In actual fact, it continues to get even worse than before. Then the hit list at the PIC keeps on growing and claims its biggest scalp yet. And then we're going to discuss whether Andrew Chauke could be the next National Director of Public Prosecutions and whether that's a good idea. Welcome to the Political Insider. This episode is brought to us by our sponsors at Trade Nation. Trade Nation could have the thing that you want to trade, and perhaps you could make some money. Go visit tradenation.com and let us know what the experience is like. Andrea Johnson is going to take the day off today from the Madlanga Commission because they had scheduled other witnesses to speak, to appear at the commission today. But it's not going to be a restful long weekend for Andrea Johnson because suddenly she has to go and imagine the specter that she could actually face personal legal problems. We're going to explain in a minute why Andrea Johnson's poor performance at the Madlanga Commission just got a lot worse and could result in her trying to keep herself out of jail. Let's start off by taking a quick look at what was as how this bad day for Andrea Johnson unfolded at the Madlanga Commission. She had to admit that despite being the head of IDAC, allowed very sensitive, very important decisions to be made without insisting on seeing or testing any of the evidence. She basically just took people's word for it, as per her testimony. When she had complained that Dumisani Khumalo and the senior management at Crime Intelligence had employed people incorrectly, and here we refer to Brigadier Dineo Makwela, her very statement was that Makwela was unqualified for the position, where all the facts show that she was overqualified for the position. They turned this into a national incident, arresting them very publicly, right? And this was at a sensitive time, just as the PKTT and the work of Crime Intelligence had just resulted in the arrests of Kat Matlala and Katiso Molefe, right? And IDAC were at the crucial moment, the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025, trying to interfere with the PKTT and their work. And who was helping her in this regard? Well, none other than our former Minister of Police, Senzo Mkhunu. Everybody had fallen for this affidavit given to them by Fadil Adams when he said that he had information that Crime Intelligence was ripping off the slush fund and improperly appointing people. Nobody bothered to check the evidence. Now, you can't underscore how serious these actions of IDAC are. If they had have prevailed, very senior members of that entire operation would have been sitting in jail instead of arresting these criminals. Had they prevailed, there would have been no press conference by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. There would be no Madlanga Commission because this would have seemingly come out of the mouths of criminals. Luckily, for South Africa's sake, people like Mkhwanazi were prepared to fight back and hold these press conference, which has resulted in these commissions. We've got to understand that Andrea Johnson had to face the commission yesterday and in the most undignified thing, had to issue an apology to Dineo Makwela for saying that she was unqualified for a position when she clearly was qualified for a position. So out came this groveling apology, which is not a good look for somebody that heads up a very important government and legal body like IDAC. A lot of questions start coming out from all of this, and her testimony just got a hell of a lot more troubling for herself. The entire exercise was put in place to protect, seemingly to protect. This whole thing of saying Crime Intelligence was the problem is seemingly put in place to protect Feroz Khan, who seems to be running a very sophisticated syndicate of police within the police and almost an effective criminal network of people in blue. On the topic of Khan, it may have proven to be quite unfortunate for him that he was shot when he did get shot in the world's worst assassination attempt, because it looks like the longer he avoids sitting in front of Justice Madlanga, the more evidence mounts against him. But back to Andrea Johnson and her own legal problems. What came throughout in her testimony yesterday is that she in fact lied to the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee under oath. Now, we can say what we like about the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, and most of it is not very complimentary. But it was a legal process, however flawed. And people did take an oath to tell the truth to Parliament, and it's a criminal offence to lie to Parliament. The point was that she lied that she had received the affidavit from Fadil Adams, when in actual fact she had never received it from Fadil Adams. He had given it to IDAC. She had just sort of seen or got this thing secondhand, whereas she had said that she had got it directly from him. And she was questioned on this. Now, already, Mkhonto we Sizwe MP, David Skosana, who was part of that Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, has vowed to open a criminal case as Johnson lied to the committee, regardless of what the outcome was. She flat out said that this is why she acted, because she had got this documentation from Fadil Adams and gone through it when she had done nothing of the sort. Now, she has not yet even been questioned for her role in preventing Feroz Khan from facing an assault charge when she passed on a docket to him, and that could be yet another criminal case that she would have to answer. That awaits her on Monday, and she's going to have a very, very unfortunate weekend. So however bad you think your weekend might be, if you're not doing something that you really want to do, you wouldn't want to swap places with her, because she is now facing real legal problems. She has lied in front of Parliament, and she has proven, and it has been proven at the Madlanga Commission, this is really big news and a real problem for Andrea Johnson. Before we carry on, more than half the people that watch this haven't subscribed to the channel. Political Insider is growing, and we're getting this kind of news out there. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps us to get more people to watch this program. So thank you very much for your support anyway. Hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. The last couple of days, we've covered extensively the goings-on at the Public Investment Commission, right? The PIC. Remember, they manage more than 3.6 trillion rand of government employees' pension fund and retirement funds, and that has always been a juicy temptation for the comrades. But now it seems like the problems that they have claimed their biggest scalp when Deputy Finance Minister and Chairman of the PIC, David Masondo, resigned as chairman. Now remember, this is an organization where there's this sort of arrangement in place where the Deputy Minister of Finance becomes the chairman of the PIC. And despite the biggest challenge for the last 30 years has been to keep those dirty hands of the comrades out of this particular till. And it seemed to have been largely successful until this recent scandal around the valuation of Lanseria Airport, when a cadre and a company that wasn't really doing anything other than being politically connected, called Acapulco Trading, had defaulted on their debt, but thanks to the very lax management at the PIC, was paid out a bonus of 400 million rand despite defaulting on their original debt of 500 million rand. Suddenly all sorts of questions are being asked, and a whole lot of committee members or board members at PIC have had to resign. Now the Deputy Minister of Finance being one of them. It seems like the person who's fighting a lone hand in South Africa, certainly from an ANC perspective, to try and keep a lid on looting, is the Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana. He's not getting a lot of support from his comrades in his party. Remember, the Finance Minister has forced his hand at the PIC. He's also the same guys withholding money from municipalities that are stealing ratepayers' money. He seems to be the only person he's not getting backing from the president, and he's not getting backing from his cabinet to try and keep people from stealing public money. But he has finally prevailed in this case over his deputy, who seems to be on the side of the people who are behind this massive loss of money. Yeah, it's R1 billion that it's cost those pension funds. That's nothing to sneeze at. And it may be pension fund monies of government employees, but it's ultimately backed by the fiscus, so your and my tax money. Now, with David Masondo gone, it just shows that in the ANC, it is either a crime syndicate or just one big dirty family business. One of those board members who resigned is Nosipiwe Balfour, and if that name is familiar, yes, she's the daughter of former cabinet minister Nkonde Balfour. You can't move for finding family members of prominent politicians in these boards, working for government organizations and often on the wrong side of the law. So what's ahead for the PIC? Well, there was the Mpati Commission that looked into the misgovernance of the PIC, and despite one of their recommendations being that this organization should be depoliticized, the talk is that Masondo will be replaced as chairman by the ANC's Deputy Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, and that is Deputy Minister Zuko Godlimpi, who is apparently quite a competent person with a cartoon-type name, but he's being tipped as being the next chairman of the PIC. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's been this sort of unwritten rule that the Deputy Minister of Finance assumes that position. Now, I was just wondering, there are two Deputy Minister of Finances, one of them being David Masondo, who's now resigned from that position. Why not give it to the other Deputy Minister of Finance, Ashor Surupin? Could it be because Ashor Surupin is from the Democratic Alliance? Or if they want to give the job to the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition, well, there's also two deputies there. One of them being Godlimpi, the other being one John Steenhuisen. Wonder why he doesn't get a look in for the position of chairman of the PIC. The PIC doesn't need to be depoliticized. It needs to be de-ANCized. That's where the problems lie. It doesn't lie necessarily in the politicians. It may lie in the party that they come from. Before we carry on, this Political Insider is recorded in the Podcast Room studio. If you want to record a video or a podcast, Podcast Room is the place for you. You'll find the details in the comment section below. Professional service and a great product. That's what they do. And they do it for us. They can do it for you. We have spoken a lot about Andrea Johnson in this past week and her legacy, which is now tarnished. We know many people whose legacies are going to be tarnished. One of those legacies that is beyond salvation is that of Shamila Batoy, the previous National Director of Public Prosecutions, that seemed to do absolutely nothing in her term of office to prosecute anybody meaningfully. She got on the wrong side of a couple of cases, and now that legacy is tarnished ever more because there was an inquiry that she set up. She convinced the president to set up the Nkabinde inquiry into the conduct of Southern Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions, Andrew Chauke. And she almost did it when it looked like she was going to get stuff done right at the early part of her reign. And there was a commission to look into whether Andrew Chauke was a fit and proper person for that position. Why was this done? Well, it was done because Andrew Chauke, when he became the Director of Public Prosecutions in Southern Gauteng, passed a couple of started to do some really weird things. And, there's some really questionable prosecutions that he did. So they call on the president establishes this inquiry, and it was headed up by retired Judge Besson Kabende. And now the president has set aside the inquiry and declared that Andrew Chauke is fit and proper and clear to stand as Director of Public Prosecutions in Southern Gauteng, and in fact to stand in line to potentially, and I stress the word potentially, to stand in line to succeed the current NPA head, Annie Mothibe, whose term ends in 2028. Now, Andy Matibe has been a revelation. The Nkabinde inquiry was a mess from the start. It was poorly constructed, poorly advised, and it ended up with the sort of failure that it has. It didn't help that Judge Nkabinde herself has a reputation for being, how do we put it, rather prickly, kind of the opposite to Justice Madlanga. What was this inquiry? This was the same inquiry that Shamila Batoy walked out of when they showed a video that seems to have contradicted one of the problems that she had with Andrew Chauke. She was then accused of suppressing evidence. She said that this was a hit on her, and she walked out of the commission, and it just stumbled to an end. But let's talk about Andrew Chauke for a minute. Because is he a great option to head up the National Prosecuting Authority or even to be in charge of South Gauteng? What was the problem with him at the start? Look, he's had a questionable track record. He decided when he was appointed into his position not to prosecute the disgraced former head of crime intelligence and Zuma ally Richard Mdluli, despite a lot of evidence that he had kidnapped and assaulted his former lover's husband. Yes, his former lover's husband, right? And this director of public prosecutions in Gauteng decide not to prosecute him, but he gets found guilty later on in a different court case. He then decides to prosecute the KZN head of the Hawks, Johan Boysen, despite this being nowhere near his jurisdiction. Suddenly there's a prosecution coming in Gauteng for something going on in KZN, and that linked to the so-called Cato Ridge hit squad. One can only imagine whether, in the light of the Madlanga Commission, that whole case against the KZN Hawks wasn't part of the same fight that we see IDAC taking, to people trying to fight crime in KZN, because it seems like there's two sides to this fight. It is a complete mess, and everywhere around it, Andrew Chauke seems to be the opposite of fit and proper. He was appointed in 2011 by President Jacob Zuma, and in those, he has personally played a significant role in a 10-year delay to prosecute former Gauteng Health MEC Brian Hlongwa, and who is being linked to a 1.2 billion rand corruption case in the Gauteng health sector. If that sounds familiar, maybe that was just the forerunner of what happened at Tembisa Hospital. But Chauke said, look, nothing to see here. 1.2 billion rand has gone missing. It looks like this guy's in charge, but I'm not doing anything. So, in my opinion, we can only hope that Andrew Chauke perhaps will get better at his job now that he's been found to be fit and proper. Because, my word, he's got to be a lot better in the future than he was in the past. I do not see this guy as being a fit and proper candidate to even hold the position he's got, never mind to succeed Andy Matibe, who's been doing such a great job at the National Directorate of Public Prosecutions. That's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again soon.